Hey everybody! Oh, that was a weird intro. Hey, so we're back here to talk about more Pokemon Home Pokemon. Yeah. So, first of all, some of you are gonna notice, Jeremy, you were doing alphabetical before, but now you have B and D and G back in here. You had moved on all the way to like the H's before. Um, First of all, thanks for pointing that out, nerd. Second of all, yeah, I missed some stuff. Thanks for drawing attention to it. I made some mistakes, so we're going to talk about Basculin White Stripe. Now, this I don't really feel like has anything like it's got Lasher specs, but we're banning that, right? That's done. This doesn't have any move pool differences or stat differences. It does have a compared to its red and blue striped brethren. It does have rattled, which may be relevant just because of the fact that it gets the speed boost when intimidated. Maybe that's something that could happen here. But I do think this has to be tiered separately because this can benefit from Eviolite. The stats aren't that good, right? The defensive stats aren't good, but like bulk is bulk. Bulk's a big deal. This thing's already decently strong with adaptability. So I do think that this probably warrants being tiered as its own Pokemon. I don't think it'll be like a tier higher, really? Maybe? It's hard for me to say, because I don't really think it's that much better. I don't think it's a tier better, but it is different, so I do feel like it has to be tiered separately. Anyways, that's that. Because actually, you know what? Never mind, I'm not gonna pull it up. Because I do think the other ones get more beneficial abilities, like Rockhead and Reckless, which are better than Rattled. I think they all get Mold Breaker. So I do think these are probably about the same tier, personally. We'll wait and see, but Bastion White Stripe, something to keep an eye on. Next we got Diancie. Diancie also pretty much does all the stuff that it used to do. It lost Mystical Fire from this most recent shift, which is a big deal. It's never not had access to a fire move. It used to have Hidden Power Fire. It got Mystical Fire. So this is a step back for it. But it did get Spikes, which is really good. I feel like that's all the big things it got. I think it had Body Press before. You know, if it didn't, and I'm wrong, sorry. But this thing doesn't get reliable recovery, so it's always going to be hard to make it a wall. It's got good defenses and decent attack, so I do feel like this can put some pressure on teams, but mostly it's a fantastic fire check, which I think is a big deal because it has Diamond Storm. Like it can come in on physical stuff pretty well. If there's sand up, it functions real well, especially. I think Diancie does have some utility. Not a lot though, because the typing is not great. We talked about how rock typing is. I don't think it's bad because T-Tar is a good defensive Pokemon, but rock plus rock plus fairy doesn't do anything big. They don't really interact with each other much, if at all. So I'm not a huge fan of its typing, but you know, move pool and stat wise, not bad. I kind of wish this kind of like Carbink had sturdy, because Clear Body I don't think comes with any significant benefits. But like Diamond Storm plus Body Press, and then if you put like, I was gonna say Calm Mind, but you're running physical moves, but you could go like Calm Mind Sword Power. That's silly. You could actually still go like Iron Defense or you get Rock Polish. You do. You go like that and maybe Sword Power. Maybe you got something going on there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. But Diancie, probably in the bronze range, maybe up to silver, somewhere in that. I'd say bronze to silver. Glastrier. Oh, what are we gonna do about you, Glastrier? I don't know. I can't make heads or tails of this. Ice is bad by itself. I've never seen a Glastrier get out of hand defensively. It gets Trailblaze, which maybe like SD Trailblaze, Icicle Crash, CC, but I don't think that's got the coverage you want. Like it's got good strong moves. I feel like the most scary set I've seen from this thing is like Banded. Just like close combat, crash, heavy slam. You probably have to have Tantrum on there. I don't know. I want this Pokemon to be better because I like this design. I think it looks cool. But I feel like the most success I've seen from it is on Trick Room teams. Because I feel like with Trick Room plus Swords Dance, since this can't set its own Trick Room, you can't make use of that. You'd have to go like Cresselia Trick Room, Lunar Dance into this, and now you have 4 turns left, I think. No, you don't, because Trick Room gives you 5 turns. That counts the one that you set it on. Yeah, so you're bringing it in with 3 turns of Trick Room. If you SD, then you only have 2 turns of Trick Room. It's bad. Trick Room sweepers are really hard to make work, especially if they rely on setup. After that, we got Cleavor. Cleavor is pretty interesting because of one move in particular, Stone Axe. Now, I will say, and also it gets the ability Sharpness, which Stone Axe plus Sharpness and X Scissor I think is also boosted by Sharpness. What else does it get that is Night Slash? You might want to run that. And then maybe U-Turn. You could either throw some boots or a Choice Band on here. Now the only problem with Cleavor that I see, like, okay, first of all, just being able to just get up your hazards like that, just be able to get up a stab, really powerful move, because Stone Axe, it's 65 plus 1.5. It's plus like, so it's like 107. That sound right? Ish? We'll say 107. 107 before stab attack. So it's stronger than Stone Edge and automatically gets up rocks. And it's more accurate than Stone Edge. The problem is, it's still not a totally accurate move. So you can essentially miss Stealth Rock with this move, which is kind of crazy. I don't know that that is enough of a drawback to not use it, because otherwise if you wanted to use this as your rocker, you'd have to put Stone Edge and Stealth Rock. So this is better than Stone Edge as we've established, but it saves you a move slot. So Cleavor is good just from the fact that it can get up rocks without really losing momentum. Stat-wise, it's really strong. I'm gonna say the official terminology is 120 or higher in a stat is strong. 130 or higher in a stat is really strong. If you're 145 or above, it's stupid. That's just stupid strong, right? I think that's what we're gonna decide on. Speed-wise, not super fast, but I think anything above 80 is pretty reliable offensively. I think this is honestly the speed you'd want to have this Pokemon at. I think it's pretty good. We're going to talk about a Pokemon later who does something similar. It's Hisui and Samurai. You guys knew that. I think that somebody's gonna take this, and it's gonna live or die by how often you miss Stone Axe. I think is gonna be the determining factor here. So next we've got Landorus. So we typically only allow Sandforce Landorus, and I don't really expect that to change because it got access to Nasty Plot. So I do think this will probably make some people look a little closer at this, because like Sheer Force plus Life Orb plus Nasty Plot is crazy. I have always said Landorus I is a fictional Pokemon. Like the biggest trouble with it is the signature thing it does is attack with special moves. It's got a pretty good special attack stat, a really strong attack stat, but it doesn't usually like to use those attacks because they're less strong, with the exception of being in sand. It's different. Does this thing get Swords Dance? I've never seen it run it. Okay, it does get Swords Dance. Like, it doesn't get knockoff anymore. So you could go ahead and run like Swords Dance, Earthquake. Pretty sure it gets Stone Edge. Yeah. You could run that on a sand team. Maybe you throw. I don't know. We'll workshop it later. But you could run that a Swords Dance set and have pretty good results. But I feel like people might be able to get away with Nasty Plot, Focus Blast, Psychic, and Earth Power on the special side. Maybe people want to go for that. Maybe Terra Blast also changes how people want to use it. hard to say. I'd be also okay with just banning Landorus Eye outright, just because it's silly to expect someone to use it since it's banned from OU just flat out. It doesn't really have a testing ground. There's no place in the world where Sandforce Landorus is used at all, right? Except by accident. So, hard to really know what to make of this Pokemon. A Pokemon that has been well explored and developed across multiple metagames in the past decade is Landorus Theory. You know, crazy, stupid strong, I think is what we established. Stupid strong attack stat of 145. Decent speed at 190 or at 91. Decent defenses at 89, 90, 80. And the ability, probably the best ability of the game, Intimidate. Fantastic typing, only weak to water and ice. It was pretty easy to cover, all things considered. Some of the strongest earth powers in the game. Rock Slide's not like a weak move, but you know, it's that gives you perfect coverage, or you can go Stone Edge instead of Rock Slide. Also gets access to SD. You can have a reliably strong stab with Terra Blast Flying if you wanted to go that route. I think that, you know, some might want to go that route. They throw SD on here. Like, that could be a set. The defensive set also works too, because it does have access to Stealth Rocks. Now, the defensive utility set did lose a little bit because it no longer has Defog, but I still think that, like, Earthquake U-turn Stealth Rock is pretty good. Maybe you throw Taunt on there, maybe you throw Rock Slide just so that way you can get some reliable damage on things that want to switch in on your Earthquake. This Pokemon definitely took a hit, but it is so usable on so many teams. Ground types are always good. If you go look at OU right now, I think they currently have 9 ground types in OU. This is a good Pokemon. This is a good Pokemon all around. It's not an exciting Pokemon. Like, Great Tusk isn't a particularly exciting Pokemon, but it excels at what it does. Hisuian Lilligant. This is a Pokemon I think that is gonna be pretty successful. We have another fighting grass type. This is the third one we've talked about in this video. Oh, in this series of videos, I should say. So it gets access to Axe Kick. So strong member of Team Kick. I wish it got Trop Kick. That'd be cool. I'd like it if it also got Trop Kick. But the big thing on this one is Victory Dance. So Victory Dance is physical Quiver Dance. Boosts your attack speed and defense by 1 stage. This thing doesn't have the same, like, stat spread that Volcarona has, so it's not really bulky, but it does have access to Hustle, which means after 1 Victory Dance, with this speed and this attack with Hustle, Victory Dance, then you go, like, Close Combat, Leaf Blade, I think it's Ice Spinner. Like, that is sufficient coverage to really fuck some people up, right? I think that this is a pretty big threat. And if you're like, I don't know about the Hustle, I don't know if I want to do that, Chlorophyll. I think, let's see if this gets Sunny Day. It does, look at this. I think this is also an acceptable moveset. Does this get that Solar Blade move? It does. You could do this. I don't think this is crazy. And then you put Terra Blast and make this Fire type? Hell yeah. Like, that's a real set. I think this is a real set you could run. You could afford to go Adamant, right? And then you max out that attack. 339 attack. After Chlorophyll boosts 6, 18 speed. This is a real set you could run. Now, I do think the more reliable one is probably it's hard to say it's reliable when it has Hustle, but I think this could be a legitimate set. So I don't think this is a one-trick pony. And plus, you could just also throw this on a Sun team, obviously, which, as I said in a previous video, is probably not a bad play style because of the Paradox Pokemon. I'm interested to see what Hisuian Lilligant is going to do. This feels like a gold tier pick to me. This feels like a strong Pokemon. Even if you don't run any like setup with it, like you can just run Banded and close combat Leaf Blade, Ice Spinner. Just get U-turn or something. It doesn't. But this thing feels like a completed Pokemon. I like it a lot. Also, Defogger, you know? Not bad to have Defoggers. After that, we've got Meloetta. Now, Meloetta boasts a move called... Nope, not that. It's got the ability Serene Grace, but what's that move called? I've already forgotten. This is embarrassing. It's Relic Song. Boom. So, Relic Song does two things. One of which... So... Oh, Relic Song's stronger than I thought it was. I thought it was 50 base power. Anyways. So, 10% chance for the foe to sleep. But Serene Grace. So, 20% chance to put something to sleep. This puts us in a little bit of a pickle, just due to the fact that we play in a tier where Sleep Clause doesn't work like we want Sleep Clause to work. I don't know what the solution to that is. Because I think if somebody drafted Meloetta and wanted to change into Pirouette form, somebody pull that up. Can I pull that up? Meloetta Pirouette. Here we go. So, if you do Relic Song, you change into this, and these become your stats. So, speed obviously goes up. What is that, like 25 points? No, more than that. 35 points? I don't remember what it is normally. And your attack goes up, but your special attack goes down. So you become a physical attacker and you become a fighting type. This would be really relevant if this had normal physical moves. There's normal. Am I stupid? Yeah. Sorry, guys. But all it's got is Facade, Quick Attack, Giga Impact. Not really optimal. I mean, you can maybe go... You shouldn't go Flame Orb, that'd be stupid. Yeah, Pirouette form is a fantasy that is never going to work successfully. What you can do is put your opponent to sleep. Yeah, by the way, those are the regular stats. 28 points, Jesus, that's a lot. What you can do is put your opponent to sleep 20% of the time with Relic Song. That's crazy. This thing's really strong, right? 128 special attack, very good. It's good bulk, 100, 128. Don't sleep on that. Plus, the thing gets access to a lot of good... I spent way too long talking about a physical moveset on this. Like, it's not already awesome at being a special attacker. So I'm sorry I wasted everyone's time. It's absolutely ridiculous. But Shadow Ball, Psychic, Psyshock, Thunderbolt, Grass Knot or Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam. U-turn's nice to have on it, because I do think this thing benefits from running an Assault Vest. And then it also gets Calm Mind. It can be a good Calm Mind sweeper. This Pokemon's really good. Probably a little bit undervalued just because there's things like Indeedee around. I think, until Expanding Force comes back, this is better than Indeedee. Am I crazy for thinking that? You know, some people have called me a visionary. Nobody who I talk to here. Just, I've said it to myself. So does that count? Mesprit. Mesprit is always like, it's one of those things you don't want Mesprit because it doesn't do anything special. Look at these stats. 80, 80, and then 105s. 80 in HP, 80 in speed, 105 in everything. That's, okay, good bulk, right? 80, 105, 105, pretty good. Pure Psychic typing with Levitate, workable defensively. It doesn't have a lot of great resists, but it does resist Fighting, Psychic, Immune to Ground. Off the top of my head, those are its only resists. I could be missing something, but I think that's it. So not amazing by any means, and it doesn't get recovery, so using it defensively is kind of out. 105 special attack is usable, even with an 80 base speed. Does this get access to Nasty Plot? I don't think it does. It's Calm Mind or some shit. Oh, it does get Nasty Plot. There it is. Also gets that Mystical Power move, which I don't think it'll ever run. And it has good coverage. It's got Thunderbolt. I'm pretty sure it's got Ice Beam. Yeah. Energy Ball. This doesn't get Flamethrower, I don't think, like its buddy Azelf does, which is kind of a shame. It's a nice coverage to have. this is always a Pokemon that I don't, but it also gets Stealth Rock, right? And it gets Healing Wish, which I think is also pretty good. Where is it? Healing Wish. It's always a Pokemon that has the thing I want, but I don't like the Pokemon. So I end up waiting on it too long, and then it's like, okay, I need to pull the trigger. Somebody drafts it. These late Guardians, I really think are interesting mons. I think this is I like this more than Yuxi, which we'll get to probably towards the end of this video. But I feel like this is an amazing utility mod. It's so like its coverage is so good that you can plug it in anywhere and you can get some good mileage out of it. Also gets screams. Like yeah, its utility is fantastic. I think this is a Pokemon that probably people need to put more respect on for the like utility stuff. And obviously, we're in an offensive meta, so you don't get a lot of that. But yeah, Mesprit's pretty good. Next, we got Moltres. Moltres has the biggest thing that it lost Defog. I don't think it lost anything else of real value. The thing you get away with this on is pressure. It's got a decent defensive typing, especially but you have to run heavy duty boots. You got to pay the heavy duty boots tax most of the time. We've seen pretty good success with Talonflame being a good defensive Pokemon last season and just on the ladder in general. Just running Flamethrower, I don't like Lava Plume, but Flamethrower, U-Turn, Roost, and Will-O-Wisp. And you could also run Hurricane Slash or something crazy. And even Ancient Power for coverage against other fire types, maybe? I don't know. But this Pokemon is pretty good all-around utility, and it's not weak either. If you have a good fire matchup, or flying matchup for that matter, and you're brave and want to hit a Hurricane, this thing's got 125 special attack. That's strong. Speed of 90 is pretty good. Like, also, when you do run this defensively, and you want to switch it in on a fighting-type Pokemon, or maybe you want to switch it in on that Hisuian Lilligant, this is an awesome mon to do that with because you can get off a burn because of Flame Body. I like Moltres, good Pokemon. Galarian Moltres, Pokemon that I like less, but I still do like. So the special attack obviously isn't out of this world, but Berserk can get out of hand quick along with like the Dual Dance sets with Nasty Plot and Agility. And then like Fiery Wrath is stronger Dark Pulse, just flat out. Then you do have to throw Hurricane on here because that is your strongest move. Stab, you have to do it if you're running an offensive set. I don't think anybody runs like the people used to run Agility. Maybe, yeah, I think you could still go away with Agility, Rest, and a Chesto Berry. I think you could get away with that. And you know what? I'm not taking into account enough that these Pokemon could really benefit from terastallizing. But this coverage, I'm trying to think of if there's a single type that resists, just one type that resists Dark and Flying, and I don't think there is. There are some common, like dual types, like Steel Fairy's not super common, but we talked about a couple of Rock Fairies that would resist it. I'm not gonna delve too much into this. Rock Darkwood, so T-Tar would resist this. So there's only one T-Tar. There's special attackers. I feel like get walled easier. I don't know if that's true, but just like their moves tend to be a little less reliable. Their stats seem to be a little less high. I think probably Pokemon Company balances it that way because they're like, oh well, special attackers can't get burned. They have to have some way to keep them on. There's more drawbacks to high special attacking moves, to physical attacking moves, because I think they know like, oh well, you switch in Moltres or that thing gets burned. That sucks. Physical attackers don't get punished on the power output side. They get punished on like, for repercussions, things like Rocky Helmet, Static, Rough Skin, Iron Barbs, Flame Body. I've gone too far. We've got a whole bunch of dark types in a row here. Isn't that fun? Alolan Muck. Man, this thing misses Pursuit a whole lot. But I feel like last season was a banner season for Muck. I feel like it did really well in the league. And now we've got a Alolan Muck, which takes care of that pesky Psychic weakness. And I think that this is really good for Muck. This isn't good for Muck. This is good for Alolan Muck's a good Pokemon. It doesn't really do anything different in terms of like its ability, like Gluttony. You're not running Gluttony most of the time. 'Cause I think Recycle's removed from the game. I feel like you could get into some fun shenanigans with Gluttony possibly if Recycle's. Power of Alchemy is for doubles. Oh man, if only somebody wanted to put together a doubles league, but I think they're afraid. But Poison Touch is really good in combination with Poison Jab. So I'm gonna. Oh, that's Poison Gas. That's embarrassing, guys. I can read. I'm totally literate. And this comes off like a somewhat respectable 105 attack stat. So it's fine. So let's break down how the math works. Poison Jab. 30% of the time you're gonna poison your target. That means 70% of the time you don't. But 30% of the time, that 70% gets poisoned. That's 21% get poisoned by Poison Touch. So that means total 51% of the time you Poison Jab somebody, 51% of the time they're poisoned. That's really obnoxious, unless they're Steel type, obviously. Then this is also a Pokemon that gets knockoff, which is highly sought after. It's also got Fire Punch to hit those Steel types that want to come in. It gets Ice Punch, which is also nice. Taunt, Toxic. This Pokemon that gets Toxic, which can't be overlooked. I think, and then also this gets Gunk Shot. I don't think that makes contact. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to look it up right now. But same math on that in terms of if it does make contact. Same maths on that poisoning stuff. I think Alolan Muck is a pretty good Pokemon, even though it lost Pursuit, which I dearly loved on it. But I expect someone to take this. And the same type Pokemon, not even just like, hey, we had two Dark type Pokemon. We have another Dark Poison type. Overquill, I think is... I really think it's going to do well. So first of all, one of the best abilities in the game is Intimidate. It also gets Swift Swim. You're never going to use Poison Point because you're using that if you're physically defensive, and you're just going to you're going to get more mileage out of Intimidate, right? So, but Swift Swim is also cool, especially if you want to end up terrestrializing water on this. So then you can run Liquidation, Gunk Shot, Crunch, and does this get Explosion? It does get Explosion. That'd be cool. You could run Aqua Jet if you were if you're up for that. I think people are gonna run Swords Dance on that. Now I know that I kind of gave grief to the the Swords Dance Glastrier, but you can easily get more turns out of Rain. And this thing's decently bulky, like 85, 95, 65. You get it set up on the right thing, and it's only got one weakness. Don't forget that. I think Overquill is going to do pretty well on a variety of teams. We've seen Drapion do... Does this thing get... I'm pretty sure it gets Spikes and Toxic and Toxic Spikes. Those are also really good. This is a good lead Pokemon. You don't need to use this in Rain. You could also just throw an Assault Vest on this and keep this coming in against stuff. This has got so many sets it can run. I think Overquill is going to be like a smash hit. I could see this going as high as Gold, although I don't think we've ever done anything. There's been a bunch of mounts with this typing. It's never been that high. Like Drapion's faster than it. I think it's the same strength. But I feel like Drapion doesn't have the same tools that this has. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, got another one. Alolan Persian. Now, this normal-looking motherfucker, great speed. Fur Coat is such a good ability. Just defensive stat is doubled. So what's that? It's a 312 defensive stat. So I don't know what that shakes out to, but that's basically, this thing essentially I think has like 100 defense. Somewhere in that ballpark. Oh, so uninvested. It's got, so what did I just say? I said 212. So anyways, its defense is pretty good. You could also invest in it more, and so that's like a 440 now. this thing can take defensive hits all day because of coat. I am not a big fan of the Technician set. This also does get Nasty Plot. This is the one I run into in Ranbats all the time. You got Dark Pulse and Revolt and Hypnosis, right? I don't really know how good that set is. But I believe this lost knockoff, yeah, so that's a shame. But I think you can still get a lot of work done with like Foul Play. You could go Fake Out, just get some chip. You might want to go Technician just for like a little increased damage output. And then this thing still gets U-Turn and Taunt. I feel like if you were going Foul Play, nah, you're not. I was gonna say you could go Thief or something, but like this gives it such a good like pivot utility moveset, and then you would just go like as much speed as you need. Like let's say you only need to hit like 3. That's the thing. I was gonna say if you don't hit 330 speed, like outspeed, like 333 I think is Garchomp, but I mean you can't quite hit 330, which should outspeed your base 100s. But let's say you only need to outspeed like what would that Pokemon? Like if you only need to outspeed like a Hydreigon or something, right? You can take a little bit off here. Maybe you go around there, and then you dump the rest. You dump the rest into HP, and then you dump 4 in defense, and you go Bop, and you drop your special attack. You run this impish little set here. You take physical hits pretty good. Maybe you want to even throw an Assault Vest on here. And this, and Play Rough, right? That could help you take on something like that. That could be fun, right? I don't know. I like this Pokemon a lot. Its face is too big now. They changed the sprite and it's ugly. But the speed is very good. I know I've been kind of floating around here. Oh, wait. The speed is very good. The bulk is surprising when you take into account Fur Coat. And this has just got such like a shiesty moveset. You're going to give your opponent issues with this Pokemon. I think this is pretty customizable. I like this Pokemon. Okay, another Dark type. We've got Hisuian Quillfish. Not a lot I feel to differentiate this from Overquill, except for the fact that it can use Eviolite, which I think is huge. I thought Quillfish, regular-ass Quillfish, was pretty good because it got stuff. Oh, I didn't even fucking talk about Barb Barrage, which is something you could do on Overquill. 50% chance to poison your opponent, and then it gets doubled. So it's like Venoshock or Hex, but also it can status them. Crazy move. Especially if you put this on a team that has Toxic Spike support, you essentially get a free 120 base power poison move that can't miss. Very cool. But this is obviously so this is slower. No, it's the same speed. Weaker, a little more frail, but also since it can run Eviolite, it's actually a little bit bulkier. I think you could run all the same sets that I talked about with Overquill on this, but instead of on the lead one, or if you wanted like a defensive pivoting one that's just going to get a lot of spikes, you can just go like really bulky. This is as much speed as you need, maybe only like this much that week. Then you just dump into HP and defense and run Intimidate. I think that this is a really annoying set, can get up a lot of hazards, and if you do get up Toxic Spikes, you manage to keep them up. Barb Barrage is doing pretty good damage coming off like a 95 attack, which isn't like good by any means, but it's also not like ignorable, right? Like you ignore the attack and special attack stat for that matter on stuff like Screamtail. But on this, I don't think you can ignore that, especially if you have high base power moves. Looking forward to this one. Now, moving on to Alolan Raichu. Raichu kind of ends up in an interesting spot in this metagame because of this ability Surge Surfer. I don't think Quark Drive is as good as Photosynthesis because the setter is worse. Relying on Pincurchin for Electric Terrain kinda stinks. It doesn't have any way of pivoting. It's nice that it has utility, but overall it's a worse Pokemon than Tapu Koko. Not a particularly, daring take, but I don't know. Let's focus on Alolan Raichu. Now, it doesn't have access to Rising Voltage, but it is still pretty strong, and it's got good coverage in Surf and Grass Knot, and it also has Focus Blast in addition to Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, and Psychic and Psyshock. Plus it has Nasty Plot. If this I've always had a lot of trouble planning for Alolan Raichu, because if it predicts correctly, it's really hard to deal with. Because like I've calced a lot for like Life Orb, Thunderbolt, and then Surf or Grass Knot, whichever is more appropriate, and then Psyshock, and Focus Blast. Like this moves, or I guess they would have Nasty Plot, right? I mean, I usually calc for like Nasty Plot, because if I can live a Life Orb Nasty Plot attack, then I can live 2 Choice Specs attacks. But anyways, this is always so fucking hard to plan for. Like 95 special attack isn't crazy, but these are pretty strong moves, and they're usually hitting super effective, and Life Orb Nasty Plot makes it hit really hard. And granted, this was harder to deal with in a metagame where electric terrain was around and this thing was using Rising Voltage. But because Rising Voltage and plus Surge Surfer, it made it crazy. It's hard to revenge kill in those scenarios. But I think Alolan Raichu does have some good stuff going for it. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody took Alolan Raichu, especially if they wanted to lean into some of the future Paradox Pokemon and Quark Drive. I'm actually going to switch the order of these 2 Pokemon real quick. Then we'll talk about it. So, Regieleki. Regieleki was recently banned from OU. I don't disagree with that. It's one of those... I was talking recently with Logan about Pokemon, like the reasons they get banned, particularly from OU, and I think some of it applies to this as well. This thing has a very predictable move set it would run. It would run, you got Terra Blast, Thunderbolt, you throw Volt Switch on there, and then a lot of times, because you don't really need anything else, a lot of the time you just throw a Substitute, okay? Maybe you have Rapid Spin, replace something. Substitute means you can, like if a Pokemon's going to defensively Terra to deal with you, you can substitute around and find out about that, because he's so fast. You also like never need to run, in League, you never need to run any speed on Regieleki. Like, this speed as is outspeeds a lot of fucking Scarfers. So you can just run like max in Modest Nature. So that being said, it does mean that you have to Terra your Regieleki, which maybe you don't want to do, but also like this thing has perfect coverage if it Terras, and it can't be revenge killed. And Transistor, we recently found out Transistor only multiplies the effect by 1.3. The reason I wanted to talk about this, so it was banned before this, and the OU council is just like, it being 20% weaker when it attacks with electric type moves doesn't change its crazy speed and perfect coverage, and it's still pretty strong even when it's just a 1 point. So a 1.3 boost to Thunderbolt means it's 120 base power, and then it's stab. It's still just too much with the coverage efforts. So I don't know. We'll obviously vote on it because that's what we do. I would be surprised if people wanted to continue along the Regieleki path. Now, the reason I wanted to do that one first is because Regidrago. You'd think, oh, they banned that Transistor ability, so they probably banned Dragon's Maw. No, still 1.5. As far as the research has gone on it, Dragon's Maw did not get banned. So this honestly got like a big bump. Obviously the HP is amazing. I think it's the second or third highest HP in the whole game. I was gonna say it's not as, I think it might be fourth. I don't remember what Guzzlord's is. If it's higher than Guzzlord's, it's the third highest. If it's lower than Guzzlord's, it's the fourth highest. Anyways, I think the fact that this thing has a better mixed move pool than Regieleki does, so it can take advantage of the attack or the special attack, and it gets Dragon Dance, right? It also gets that Dragon Energy move, which is basically Dragon type Eruption, And then coming off of Stab plus Dragon's Maw means this is a crazy powerful move. I've never really used it because I just feel like it's a little less reliable than just going for Draco Meteor, because you want to be able to use this thing to be able to soak up hits. But the biggest thing it got this generation was coverage. It got Earthquake. It got hiccups. It got Earthquake, Earth Power. Maybe it had Earthquake before, but it has Earth Power now, so you can run that with Draco Meteor. And it also got... Well, Terra Blast is also beneficial, but on the physical side, it also got... Iron. Didn't it get a Steel move? Am I crazy? Hang on, guys. I know it's here. I'm sure of it. Okay, maybe it didn't. I thought it did. But I mean, it got Earthquake on the physical side. And then just like Draco Meteor, Dragon Pulse, and then you... Thought it got another move. I mean, you probably just put Terra Blast on. And honestly, even just Terra Blast being on a special set, you probably go... You can go Dragon Energy on this. Run like an Assault Vest. I don't know. That's not a great set, but I mean, it'll take hits, right? You run a set like this, you can break through stuff you couldn't break through before. If you were attacking into a fairy, your best move to hit it was going to be like Fire Fang. On this, Terra Blast is actually like significantly better on the special side. On the physical side, you have Earthquake. I swear, but I got Iron something. It's driving me crazy that I'm not seeing it. Oh, I've lost my mind. Okay, I still think it's good. Okay, I think this is better than it was, right? Let's move on to Rillaboom. Rillaboom got nerfed hard. Obviously, you can still run Grassy Surge. You got U-Turn. So this being a supporter for kind of unburdened shenanigans, a la the bird Hawlucha, still pretty good. It got access to Trailblaze, which is nice, but the biggest problem is it lost Grassy Glide. Without the priority, this thing, I think, struggles to really take off. We saw how good this was for. Also, Grassy Glide, when it comes back, it's only 60 base power, and somebody's just like, Technician. No, nobody cares. I think the only grass-type Technician user is Roserade. I don't think it's worth it. It's a little bit weaker. I still... Anyways, Rillaboom. Without Grassy Glide, I still think it's a decent breaker. It still has pretty good coverage in like Drain Punch, Stomping, or it doesn't have high horsepower anymore, which kind of sucks. It still has Knockoff, which is nice. And then obviously Wood Hammer is super strong if you pair it with a Choice Band in the grassy terrain. You can even Terra Grass and just absolutely break through some stuff you shouldn't be able to break through, because Wood Hammer is such a strong move coming off of its strong attack stat. I think this obviously isn't like a platinum tier Pokemon anymore, just because it doesn't have a priority. I could see it being I think it's probably a really good mon in, I think it's a really good mon in Silver, or an underwhelming mon in Gold is kind of where I think it probably fall. There's other grass types in Silver, like Serena's the one that springs to mind for me. But Serena doesn't have this power boost because of Grassy Surge, and I think it has to rely on Power Whip. I think this thing's moveset is better than the comparable grass types in the tier. Next, we're going to move on to Samurott. This is the final one for this video, which is unfortunately running with a bit of a downer, because Samurott didn't really get anything. It did not get Sharpness like its Hisuian brother did. Aqua Cutter is like its biggest new best thing, which you're really not going to use because you're just going to run Liquidation because you have that. Now, I've always liked Samurott's coverage. Like, it gets Megahorn Liquidation, Knockoff, Sacred Sword, I think it gets other stuff. And it has a pretty good special attack too. It's actually better special attack than physical attack, Jesus. It gets Grass Knot, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam. And it's got Swords Dance, Taunt. It has a really impressive move pool, but its speed is underwhelming. Its attack and special attack are both underwhelming. Its bulk is okay. It's like, this is like the middest Pokemon you could possibly make. I'm fascinated at when they were designing Samurott if they had any intention of it doing a thing, because this feels so unclear what they wanted it to do. Like, you look at Rillaboom, it's like click Woodhammer and hurt things. Samurott, it's just like, okay, well, we're gonna make it look like it's got swords and stuff. We're gonna make it look like a samurai. Let's make its special attack its highest stat. Also, let's make its attack stat kind of middling. And then we'll put Swords Dance on. It's not like Pokemon stronger than this don't get Swords Dance. Like, I know Lando's a legendary or whatever, but like, Rillaboom gets Swords Dance. It's got 125 base attack and it's got Grassy Surge. I don't know why they were so short with Samurott. Like, okay, well, maybe you can give it a busted ability like you gave Hisuian Samurott. Let's give it shell armor so it can't be crit. Why? I've complained about some Pokemon, like particularly their moves being kind of overtuned. Samurott is so undertuned. I don't get what they were doing, but this feels like a bad Pokemon. Like it's like I said, it's decent at a bunch of stuff and it's got a good move pool, but I don't see this Pokemon being higher than Bronze. I can't recall if someone's taken Samurott. If this was an Iron, I don't think people would be shocked. I don't think people would rush out to get it. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. But that is all. I think I did 24 Pokemon in this one. So that's that. These are the Pokemon we're going to be covering next time, and man, there are some spicy meatballs in this bunch, I'll tell you what. But thank you for listening to this. The next one should be out in the next couple days. It takes me a little bit to sit down and record these because they're longer videos. But thank you for listening. Please give me feedback on where you think stuff should be, or at least collect your thoughts. That way when I come to you, you have an opinion to share with me. Because I want people to be thinking about this, because the day is coming where we're going to need this information. So thank you all, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye.